Rivian may be a fairly new automaker, but the company has taken the world by storm with its all-electric lineup. The company launched with a pickup truck called the R1T, and then later expanded with a very similar SUV called the R1S, which we are driving today. Now, Rivian has some exciting new products on the horizon, including a smaller crossover called the R2, and an even smaller one than that called the R3, but before those models arrive, the original R1T and R1S have gotten a second generation. That's what Rivian calls it, at least. Now, looking at it, it really isn't visually all that much different, but there are some really big changes that we're going to talk about, which is why Rivian has flown me out to Seattle, Washington, so I can be one of the first people to drive the all-new R1S. So let's start with an exterior walk around of the R1S, and honestly, there's not a whole lot that you're going to notice visually here unless you're one of those people that posts on the Rivian forums and knows every color and trim change and all of that. We've got some updates in the headlights here. Now, there's actually some cool RGB lights down here. So that means including being able to light up in white to be a headlight, you can also have it be a bunch of different colors. So they can do some cool things with hazard effects, and they're going to throw in some Easter eggs and stuff like that as well. It's going to be really, really cool. There's actually a cool feature they showed us where the lights will actually show if you're like stopped in the middle of the road and you want people to go around specifically to the right of you, you can have the lights showing that, which is really cool. One of the updates visually are going to be these new 22-inch wheels. They replaced the old 21-inch wheels that actually came standard. I apologize for them being a little bit dirty. We've been doing a little bit of light off-roading so far. This is an aero wheel that is going to get you the max range, which is about 410 miles on this R1S model. Really good for an electric SUV, partially due to these wheels, which have this nice aero cap. You can actually remove the cap. It requires no tools to do so. I think it looks really good both ways, but if you want the max range, you're going to have to leave those caps off. Now, other than that, we don't have too many changes back here. The R1S is a very boxy looking vehicle. I think it looks fantastic, so I'm not really mad that they didn't have to do too many visual changes. One thing that I should talk about, it's a little bit hard to see here on this wheel, but you'll see that we have yellow brake calipers underneath here. If you're going to get the dual motor version, we're going to talk about all these motors a little bit later, all of the accents are going to be silver. When you upgrade to a tri-motor, which is the one you're seeing right here, all of the accents are going to be yellow, which is what they were for the quad motor currently. They have a new color for the quad motor that is like this baby blue. I'll try to get some B-roll of that as well. So you can differentiate the color, the models on the outside, the dual, tri, and quad motors by the colors. So here we have R1S with a little yellow. If you get the quad motor, you get kind of like a blue thing that says quad. And you also get Gary the gear guard, their little Sasquatch-like creature on the back. You only get that if you get the quad motor. Now here on the inside, you Rivian diehards aren't going to notice too many substantial differences on the cabin. It mostly looks the same, but there are some things we should talk about here. I love these seats. They're very comfortable and very cool looking as well. There are some new color pathways. There's kind of like a bluish gray option that you can get now on this second generation model. This is kind of just a more boring black, but it does look really nice. We've got heated and ventilated seats, no massage function on this guy. I like the little Rivian logo right here. We do have something new down here. In addition to the like bath mat looking mats that you can now get this really cool plaid floor mat, which I think is a really nice touch. Now, you do have a little bit of storage down here underneath the seat. That's a little Easter egg right there. You also get this little flashlight that's going to eject off of the door. This is perfect for when you're going camping. That is not the only Easter egg as well. You also have a little portable Bluetooth speaker that's actually going to pop out of the center console here. That is awesome for when you're camping. You also have a ton of storage down here. Now, everything else is mostly going to be the same. There is no start button in this car. I've been having some problems closing the doors. No start button. You just put your foot on the brake to start up the vehicle. Your shifter is going to be here. Your steering, your turn signals are going to be here. You adjust the steering wheel and stuff using these buttons, which have multiple functions. They do change around a lot. We do have a nice digital gauge cluster that shows us our speed and our map and stuff like that. This is something that Tesla has been going away from. We do have this really nice screen. You can watch YouTube on it. It has some incredible incredible cameras on it. I'm going to go ahead and say this, and I've said this before, but I'm really going to say it here. Look at the resolution on that. I really hope it comes through on the camera. Rivian is pretty confident that this new R1S and the R1T have the most megapixels of any brand new vehicle on sale today. You could film a movie on these cameras. They are so good. We still don't have any Apple CarPlay or Android Auto on this system, but it's fine-ish because you do have lots of different apps on here. Spotify, Alexa, there's a new built-in Dolby system, so you do have Dolby Atmos on the speakers. They sound really good when you're using your Apple Music. You still have no air vent adjustment right here. You actually control that all using the screen here. So similar to Tesla, you can direct the air here on the screen to point it on you. There's no oscillation function at all, but you do have a pet mode to go ahead and leave this all on while you are going and running errands or whatever, which is kind of nice. The other thing that I want to mention is the new panoramic roof. So we have an electrochromic feature where I can go ahead and dim the light coming out of here. So you can see that tree very clearly right now. And then let me just get that back on the screen here. And then I click it. Now the tree has completely gone away. I love this feature for a roof because there's no shade, physical shade for this. So I love this functionality to be able to block out a little bit of the sunlight that's coming into the cabin. Now, the R1S is a 3-row SUV built for families, and it is very nice if you intend to use it as such. These seats are kind of carved out like the front ones. We do have a nice armrest here with some nice cup holders in here as well. Your kids are even going to have some nice amenities. They have a little screen right here that they can control all of the audio function. They can turn on their heated seats. You get heated second row and heated third row seats, which is quite nice. They can play around with the Bluetooth and some other things. And yes, you can lock them out of this if you do not want your kids playing with all of that stuff on a road trip. They have these really nice straps here where you can put stuff, and they do have some USB-Cs built into the top with a nice little hook here so they can keep all of their devices charged. Now, getting into the third row is very easy. You get one click button. It's going to tip and slide all the way forward. 60-40, so this is the 60 side, there's the 40 side. I will say getting into the third row, not the easiest thing in the world. You are going to have to climb just a little bit. Now that I'm back here, as long as you don't have the second row all the way slid back like this one is, you can fit an adult back here. I don't think they're going to be the most comfortable. There are bigger third rows. Like I believe the Kia EV9 is a little bit more spacious back here. We do have some nice air vents down here. Each person here is going to have their own little storage down here, which is quite nice as well. And then you get your own separate sunroof here in the third row, although it doesn't have the cool electrochromic feature. And last but not least, before we wrap up on our walk around and we get the R1S out on the road, let's talk about the cargo space. Now, just like a Range Rover, we've got a really cool split tailgate here. The top portion of that is going to be powered. The bottom portion, you just get a little button here that's going to release it, and then you just go ahead and put it down manual. It creates a really nice place to sit. I really do like that as well. We've got some other cool features in here, a little bit of storage space underneath the floor. We've got these buttons here. You can go ahead and push those. That's going to fold down those second row seats. You can see that one didn't quite go down because of where the passenger seat was put. Now, if you want to get max storage space, these seats in the third row, those actually just go down manually. It's a little bit of a reach when you have this portion of the tailgate down. And then behind this little door, we actually have our 1500 watt max outlet. I believe that you can actually get an air compressor right there. I did see one that had an air compressor there, so you could use that to refill your tires when you go off-roading or fill a basketball or a beach thing, whatever. That is a really cool feature. And I should mention before we do get it out on the road, I'm sorry that I gave you that little fake out right there, but we do have a front trunk as well. Rivian did engineer one of those as well. Plenty of space. You can see we've got all of our camera gear in here. You now get these little nets here for smaller items that you don't want to roll around. There is a little bit of storage underneath this floor as well. I can try to show you that. You can see it does go a little bit deeper than the floor, but I do really like that. If you are one of those people that thinks you are going to use the frunk a lot, it's a good one. All right, now let's get out on the road in the all-new second generation Rivian R1S. And let's talk a little bit about the motor changes here because there are some significant changes in terms of the powertrain and what is going to be available on this new second generation model. Starting with the dual motor version, you're going to get 533 horsepower out of 2 electric motors. That's actually the least powerful version of the R1S, which is kind of hysterical. You can also get a dual motor performance version, which is going to dial the horsepower figure up to 665 horsepower. And I believe they're doing that mostly through software changes. There's not really any mechanical changes to the electric motor on the front and the rear axle. And if you get that performance model, you're going to hit 0 to 60 in just 3.4 seconds. That's bonkers. And the crazy part about it is it only gets faster from there. So we are in the tri-motor variant. So basically what that's going to do is, in addition to the electric motor that you have on the front axle, we now have 2 electric motors at the rear axle, 3 total, hence tri-motor. This is going to turn things up to 850 horsepower. That means you will now do 0 to 60 in just 2.9 seconds. We are talking Porsche 911 levels of acceleration in a 3-row crossover. That is strictly bonkers. So if I go ahead and put the tri-motor into its sport mode and hit the throttle, oh my God! It throws you and all 7 people in here back in their seats. You don't get any noise. They don't do any like fake acceleration drama. You get a little bit of like a whistle from the electric motors, but I'm going to do that again because that was just so crazy. Whoa! That is absolutely intoxicating. And the craziest part is Rivian doesn't stop with this model, but to show you the performance that you can get out of an R1S, I actually have to get out of this car for a brief moment. So let's go ahead and do that now as I hop into the R1S quad motor. Now we have it in Rivian's drag mode, so all I have to do is foot on the brake, foot on the gas. It'll tell me when to let go. Ready? Oh my goodness gracious, it hops around. Whoa! That's 60. And we're through. So now that we're back in the tri-motor, let's talk about what just happened there in that quad motor. I was a little bit frazzled. I had to make sure, that I was getting down the drag strip and I was stopping at the right time. But you get 1,025 horsepower. Basically what they do is they take the dual electric motor pack from the tri-motor and then they put it at both axles to create the quad motor setup. It's more powerful than before. So instead of producing around 800 horsepower, it's now at that 1,025 number. 0 to 60, they say, is 2.5 if you get the R1T. It's a little bit slower in the R1S. Now, I don't think anybody really got that close on the journalist side, although Rivian says that one of their people was actually able to do it in under 2.5 seconds. So I think it was around 2.4 seconds they were able to get in an R1T. That is bonkers. And then the quarter mile in 10.5 seconds. This like pickup truck and 3-row SUV, we are talking Bugatti Veyron levels of quarter mile times. It's a crazy world we live in, folks. And it's not just performance where things have gotten a little bit better. We also have some really good range out of these cars. So with the tri-motor setup, you can get the max battery pack. You can also get the max battery pack if you do the dual performance model. Now the dual model is actually going to be the less on range, the least on range, because it only has the standard pack. Now that is a lithium iron phosphate battery. It's a little bit cheaper, so you get about 270 miles on that, a little bit less if you go for the off-road tires. I think 258 is going to be the lowest, but if you want the max range model, you're really going to want to go for the dual performance or this tri-motor. Depending on the configurations, it does change a little bit from R1T to R1S, but you can get all the way up from about 380 to 410 miles max on the R1S. And if you get the R1T, you can actually eke out a little bit more, 420 miles. Now, on the pickup truck side, the only thing that's really going to do better than that is the Chevy Silverado EV, which has a much bigger battery. And on the SUV side, there is absolutely nothing that competes with this. You have to wait for the Lucid Gravity, which will have a little bit more range than this, but it is a very differently shaped SUV. Now, the last thing I want to tell you about on the R1S, and there is a reason why I took out the R1S today rather than the R1T, which Rivian has also brought along today. And that is because they've done a little bit more changes in terms of suspension here on this R1S. Now, unfortunately, this is my first time driving this vehicle, but everybody that I know who's driven the R1T and the R1S said that the T was much more comfortable than the S. Now, that's partially due to it having a little bit of a longer wheelbase, but there were other reasons for that as well. So Rivian took the air suspension and re-engineered it a little bit. And now we have this new soft mode, which I'm going to say it's not like the most comfortable SUV. It's still kind of truck-like. It still delivers that not quite Jeepy, but definitely more of an off-road focused ride. But it does really help when you're in the soft mode. In fact, I think that the soft mode is actually too soft. When I was on the highway, I felt the car kind of moving around a little bit more than I'm comfortable with. So I actually put it back in the moderate mode. But we also have hydraulic roll control. So that'll use hydraulic springs to kind of keep the car level. And when you're in the firm mode, it really works. We are on a really nice winding back road here outside of Seattle, Washington, and I can really toss this thing into corners, and it handles so freaking well. I honestly can't believe how well a 7,000-pound vehicle like this handles. We're actually about to go through a roundabout. Let me just let the traffic go, and we can see how well the R1S does around a roundabout. Ready? All right. Here we go. I'm going to chuck it in. Yeah, not a lot of body roll. Steering, I have a lot of confidence in. Yeah, not a lot of SUVs of this size feel that athletic. I gotta say, I'm really happy that I finally got a chance to drive a Rivian. I'm super impressed with the R1S and all of the changes that they made to it. If I was in the market for one of these, I probably would get the dual motor performance or the tri-motor. I just think that the quad motor is going to be really expensive. We don't have pricing on it yet, but let's pull over so that we can talk about how much you should expect to spend if you're looking for a new R1S. All right, so that is going to wrap up our time with the new Rivian R1S. So let's go ahead and talk about pricing. Now, the R1S is more expensive than the R1T. It starts at just under $76,000 for that dual motor standard pack. If you want the dual motor with the large battery pack to get a little bit more range, that's going to be about 83 grand. So it is a significant step up. And while we don't know exactly yet, Rivian believes that all except for that small pack, because it is the LFP pack, it must be made by a different company, all except that pack are going to qualify for the full $7,500 tax credit. So that might actually erase part of that price deficit if you are to just go get the dual motor large pack. So interesting there. Be sure to stay tuned for any information about that. Now, if you want the dual motor max pack, that's going to be just under $89,000. And if you want this tri-motor version, which is only available with the max pack, that's going to be just under $106,000. We currently do not have pricing for that crazy quad motor version. We have to wait until probably closer to the end of the year to get more information about that. But I am very impressed with my first drive of the Rivian R1S, even though it took me until their second generation to get to drive one. I think this is one of the more compelling SUVs out on the road. I know that the Kia EV9 is a little bit less expensive than this on the low end, but it does not have the power, it does not have the off-road capability, and I don't think it has the premiumness that this Rivian has instantly come into the market and got. People think these are cool. They come in some really cool colors like this green, and the Kia is, well, a Kia. The Rivian is just kind of more of a status symbol that has emerged on the market. But I want to hear what you think. Let me know in the comments, would you buy the Rivian R1S? Are these new updates enough to convince you? Let me know in the comments. And as always, if you've enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to our channel, and ring that notification bell to be alerted of our latest videos. I'll see you next time.